I came across Sid Banks when I had been teaching. I had been a psychologist for 10 years. And when I started learning the principles, my daughter was 13, going on 14. She's 50 now. And she grew up immersed in the principles. By the time she left home, she had a very deep understanding of the principles. And she's done a lot of different things in her life, but she's just started her three principles practice again now that her kids are 15 and 20, 16 and 20. And yesterday we had our first ever father-daughter webinar. And we had 70 people live on Zoom. And it was so touching for me to see my daughter share her deep understanding of life that has allowed her to be very resilient. She gets upset like anybody, but she gets over it as quickly as anybody I know ever. She, she's like a little kid. She's like she's like my 5-year-old granddaughter, who most of the time is just running around playing and happy, and then she'll get really upset with her brother. And right away, she's back in the present moment. She doesn't think about being upset. She doesn't analyze when she's upset. So she is very resilient. She gets over it quickly. Well, it's built into every single one of us to be that way. No exceptions. But isn't it interesting that most adults, when they have a problem or difficulty or feel tension or stress or upset, most adults do more thinking. And the beauty of learning about this is that as soon as you start feeling that stress, that upset, you know that the only problem is that you're holding on to some thoughts that are making you feel that way. It's the only problem any of us have psychologically. And so the feeling lets you know it's time to let go of that thinking and come back to the present moment, like my little 5-year-old granddaughter does. And then you too will be as resilient as you were when you were a little kid. Anybody can recover their natural resilience. Being resilient is a hallmark of psychological well-being. It's a key. It's an indicator of well-being. If someone is resilient, they know enough not to hold on to and continue to think about something that makes them upset. My daughter is so good at talking about it's normal to have low moods. Everybody does. Everybody. Sid Banks has low moods. Somebody asked him, Sid, do you still have low moods? He didn't understand their question. It would be like my saying, Natasha, do you still exhale? Do you still do that? Or do you only inhale now that you've caught on to this? The person asked him 3 times, "Do you still have low moods?" He had no idea what he was asking. He couldn't comprehend. And someone said, "Sid, some people think that if you become enlightened, you will no longer have low moods." And he says, "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." You have two people in a low mood. One person has understanding and one person doesn't. It's not good and bad. It's just one person has learned the nature of the mind and the other person hasn't. So when I used to have a low mood, I didn't know that it was created by my thinking. And so I would think about what I thought was making me feel this way, and I would do a lot of thinking. So I'm having a low mood, and another person is having the exact same, my daughter is having the exact same feeling. We're both upset, but I don't know it's my thinking, so I keep thinking. My daughter knows it's her thinking, comes back to the present moment, and several things are different. By knowing that it's her thinking, she doesn't blame anybody else or anything else. She goes, "I know it's just some thoughts I'm having." As soon as you know it's thought, it's easier to let go of it when you know it's just some thoughts you're holding on to. If you think something made you feel this way, what do you let go of? Your best hope is to change what you thought caused you to feel bad. The other thing that happens when you know it's just some thoughts and it's normal to feel this way or to have those thoughts, you don't judge yourself for it. It's normal. I'm just having a low mood. It's my psychological exhale. The other thing that happens, if you know it's your thought, you don't blame anybody else for what you're feeling, or you don't blame your situation. That changes it dramatically. My wife was thrilled when I learned this because when I was in a low mood, I couldn't blame her for what I was feeling. She was very happy. She said, "Keep learning that, whatever you're learning." Okay. And then Sid said, "And I learned an even greater secret than thought. I learned an even greater secret than that we live in the world of our own thinking." That's powerful. I mean, that alone helped me be resilient and not blame life and to feel hopeful that no matter what I was feeling, I could get over it, that I wasn't a victim of life. I mean, that changed my life. It changed my parenting. If that's all I had learned, I would have been happy. But then he said, "I learned an even greater secret, that I have free will and that I can decide whether I put my attention on what's already been created, my thinking, my feeling, my behavior, other people's thinking, other people's feelings, other people's behavior, the outside world. I can put my attention on that and think about things that have already been created. Or I can put my attention on what's doing the creating." Now, let me say this a little different way. When Sid had his enlightenment experience, he realized something very, very powerful, but very simple, that he wasn't separate from life. He was part of an infinite field of energy. Now, doesn't that make sense? If you have a computer, you can talk about the computer all you want, but you wouldn't even call it a computer if it wasn't connected to a source of energy. You could have an oven, but you wouldn't call it an oven if it wasn't connected to a source of energy. It wouldn't work. I'm able to see you and hear you and talk to you and feel my chair. Why? Because I'm connected to a source of energy. Otherwise, I would just be a dead body and I wouldn't work. But it's hard for people to realize that we're connected to an infinite ocean of energy and we're just little waves on the ocean. It's hard for people to realize that. So he said it's easier to realize that at this moment you are being lived, and you can tell because you feel alive. You can feel that life energy in your body, and it's always that feeling of life energy in our bodies is always here. So Sid would say the secret to life is when you feel upset, look within. Look for the feeling that's always here that doesn't come and go. Because you can be in a very low mood, and I can say, "Are you alive?" And you'd stop and go, "Let me check." Yeah, I'm alive. What a stupid question. Because we can feel the life energy within us. Okay, humor me. Hold your hands like this. So you're not touching anything, and don't move your hands. Close your eyes and be aware of your hands. Can you feel your hands? You're feeling life energy in your hands. Watch this. Watch this. Can you feel your feet? Can you be aware of your feet? Isn't that interesting? Now, you can put your hands down. Thanks. Be aware of the energy in every part of your body, in your whole body. Just be aware of your body being alive. Do you notice that when you're aware of your body being alive and you're really feeling that feeling of life energy in this moment, you're not thinking. You can just feel. Thoughts may come and go, but you're not paying attention to them because you're paying attention to what's always here. What you're feeling inside you is the same energy that was here when you were 5 years old. Your thoughts come and go, your feelings come and go, your behaviors come and go, but the feeling of being alive is always here. And in spiritual teaching, they call that the I am, or the true I, your true self, because it's always here. You can always feel yourself, no matter how often your thoughts and feelings change. So Sid would say, you want to realize that your feeling is coming from thought. Wow, is that freeing? Oh, it's just thought. I only have one problem in life. I hold on to thoughts that create my tension, stress, or upset. That's the only problem human beings have psychologically. And when you realize you're the one holding the thoughts, you don't need a technique. You just let it go. If I put something too hot in your hand, you wouldn't ask me for a technique on how to let it go. You drop it. If you realize that you're holding a thought that's making you unhappy, there's no technique needed. Sid said, if you really see that it's thought, it'll bring you back to the now. The now being where you're present and not holding any thoughts. You can have 1,000 thoughts, but you're not paying attention to them. You're just present. You're just present. You're resting in presence. You're resting in the feeling of being. So Sid would say it's all thought. I want everybody in the world to know we live in a thought-created experience. It's all thought. From the moment you're born until you die, your experience is being created by thought. The second thing that's important that I want everybody to know is that when you quiet your mind down, you can become aware of the feeling of being alive and rest in that and develop a relationship with it and fall in love with that. That's the heart of all spiritual teaching. Discovering your true self that doesn't come and go and feeling it. Feeling it. Living in that feeling of being present. You can be in a very low mood. You have, like I said, two people in a low mood. One person is caught up in blaming the world and doing a lot of thinking. The other person is caught up knowing it, letting go, and feeling this moment as it is. Another way of saying that is you feel before it goes through your intellect and label it. So if you're angry, you don't label it anger. It's just energy, and you can feel it in your body. And if you feel that feeling, it'll take you right out of your thinking. And if you feel any feeling without thinking, it's beautiful. It's alive. And then anger turns into courage, strength, aliveness. Insecurity turns into confidence. Fear turns into love. It's all the same feeling. One is it goes through the intellect, you label it as good or bad, and you think about it. And the other is you feel it before it goes through your intellect. So when we allow our minds to quiet down, we don't become dumb and stupid. We feel more and more alive and awake. It's a beautiful feeling. And you can tap into that anytime, anywhere, no matter what you're feeling. We're a thought away from being present and then taking our attention off our thinking and our experience and becoming aware of this energy within, this feeling within. So Sid would say, you're listening for a feeling, look for the feeling. It's all in the feeling. If you're really feeling the feeling of being, you are not in your head anymore. You've come from your head into your heart. When I feel this moment, I am no longer in fantasy land of an imaginary future which never exists and an imaginary past which never exists. When we ate breakfast this morning, it wasn't the past. In that moment, we were in the present moment. That's all there is. Time is created by concepts. You fall out of concepts, you're in the eternal now, timeless now. You fall out of thought, you fall out of all judgments about yourself and about life. Now, when we're standing free in the feeling of being, there's an intelligence built into that feeling that will guide you perfectly. It'll move your body. You won't have to think, you won't have to make decisions, you won't have to know what to do. You'll just start doing it. You say, well, how can that be? Well, when you drive a car, you have to become pretty present. And when you're present, you're going along, your hands are moving, and they're making life and death decisions all the time, and you're not using your intellect. And you know when to put on the brakes, when to speed up, when to turn without thinking about it. That's wisdom guiding us. Many times when Natasha has come to visit me, we go for a walk on our beach, and there's all these big stones on the beach. And you're walking along, talking to each other, and your legs keep moving so you don't trip on the stones. That's wisdom. That's wisdom guiding you. You're in the middle of a family crisis. You're trying to figure out what to do and what to say. Wow. It's just caught up in thinking that's making you very anxious or stressed. When you realize holding is the only problem, you begin to let go of that thinking, and the crisis is still going on in your family. And now you're feeling this moment as it is, not imaginary future or past, feeling this moment as it is. And suddenly you know what to say. You know when to keep your mouth shut. You know when to stand up, when to go into the other room, or when to stay here. You don't even have to think about it. You're being lived by wisdom. When people become fully present during a crisis, they don't become dumb. They become more conscious, more awake, more alive, more intuitive, and just begin to have all the common sense they need to navigate that situation. Recently, Natasha and I and a bunch of our friends did a 3-day program for people in the Ukraine, 4 hours a day. We had 400 people on Zoom. Many of those people were living in horrific circumstance, not knowing when a bomb would drop on their house. In one of the programs we did for the Ukrainians, they were calling in from bomb shelters. And yet, even in that most horrific of circumstance, they're still free thinkers and still have free will. And if you think about the horror that's happening around you, you're going to get more and more distraught, upset, suffer. But we're a thought away from being present and feeling this moment as it is. And it grounds people. That's what being grounded is. The feeling of aliveness is always here inside of you. It doesn't come and go. It's not a mood. It's not a thought content. It's not a feeling content that comes and goes. It's the experience of truth, of what's always true, what's always alive. And so people in these horrific circumstances can become present. It takes no effort to be present. It takes a lot of effort to keep thinking, to become present and to feel. And when people do that, suddenly they feel closer to other people and they can be kind. And there's no circumstance where human beings can't have compassion or be kind. It's built into us. It's our nature. It's not something we can do. It's something we are. Natasha and I like to ask people, if you let go of everything, just don't hold on to anything you're thinking and feeling. Just relax. Just rest in the present moment, not holding. Let your thoughts come and go. Don't worry about what your thoughts are, if they're positive or negative. It doesn't matter. Just let them go, relax. Just rest in this present moment as it is, no matter what you're feeling. What's still here? You've let go of everything, but what's still here? And then you get words like, well, I'm being, I'm not doing, I'm just being. Because being is always here. Being is life energy. We're human beings. The human come and go. The being is always here. You're being yourself. Being yourself. Isn't it funny? You just tell someone, well, just be yourself. Not this ego self that is continually coming and going, not what you think and feel and do, the self that's always here. Be that. That's the ultimate spiritual teaching. Know thyself, be thyself. Big S self, not little s ego. Ego is just thinking that comes and goes. One time people said, what's ego? Or ego. He said, it's everything you think. While we're thinking, we're caught up in concepts and ideas, beliefs, and they come and go. So that's not our true self. And yet we think that's who we are. We think that I am what I think and what I feel. There's something deeper than that that's always here. There's no word in any language for that because it's the feeling of life energy flowing through you before it goes through your intellect. The feeling of now, the feeling of being present. People use the word presence. It's just, I let go of everything. There's still this presence of Dicken. This I is still here. It's always still here. My son at 9 years old, was hit by a car, thrown 44 feet. What is that, 10 meters? I don't know. Long ways. They thought he was dead. They took him to the hospital. I met him at the hospital. They had a whole team in intensive care keeping him alive. And then when he was stable, he was unconscious, but stable, they took him up to a room in the critical care unit. And my wife and I could stay in the room with him, and they had comfortable chairs so you could lean back and we could stay there with him all night. And both my wife and I knew that thinking about what had happened and getting more and more upset would not help our son. So we both let go of everything, both of us. Spontaneously, we knew, and we got quieter and quieter and quieter, and we felt nothing but pure love for our son. And then this is how wisdom works. It brings you what you need when you're fully open and receptive to it. It's called wisdom because it's an intelligence that can bring you exactly what you need at any moment in any situation ever that you find yourself in. And it occurred to my wife in this quiet state to sing lullabies to our son that she sang to him when he was a baby. And there's a monitor over his bed, and it had his uh, the number of his heartbeat, which was 113. So he's in a state of fear and panic, and even though he's unconscious, his heart is going twice as fast as normal. And they had a chart on the electric chart showing his breathing, and it was very shallow and fast and irregular. My wife starts to sing to him, and the heartbeat went from 113 down to 65. And the breathing suddenly went slow and deep. And when she stopped singing the song, it went right back to 113. Guess what we did all night? I can't even sing. I sang. I sang. We were singing because we knew it was helping him quiet down. That's wisdom. We couldn't have learned that in a book. My daughter the next day is with my son, and hospital rooms can be pretty plain. And she had the idea of going home to his bedroom and getting his favorite posters and bringing them in and putting them up on the wall. And people were sending flowers, so we put all the flowers around his bed. People brought food. We put all the food under the bed. People were sending cards, so we put cards up all over the wall. It was like Neiman Marcus at Christmas time in his room. And my wife and I kept coming back to this quiet presence and bringing love to him and to the nurses that came in and the doctors. And pretty soon the nurses and doctors, even when they had finished their shifts, would come back and be with us because they just loved being in that feeling. And the doctors said after a few days, we've never seen anybody recover faster from their injuries than your son. And when my son finally became conscious, the very first thing he said is, can I make a phone call? We said, yes, anybody you want. What do you want to call? He wanted to call the boy that was with him, that saw him, his friend who saw him get hit. His first thought was not for himself, it was for this other boy, because he had been surrounded by this love. I've been with people who are dying. I find that feeling. I can still feel sad. It comes and goes, but I find that feeling that Sid would say, always look within. There's a quiet beneath the noise of your thinking, the quiet of being present. Rest in that quiet. And in that quiet, if you're aware, there's just that feeling of life energy. Rest in that feeling. And if you're in a quiet mind and a deep feeling, you'll know what to do. It'll guide you no matter what's happening, no matter what your situation. No human being can think their way to the present moment. No human being can think their way to a peaceful mind. No human being can think and feel happiness at the same time, or think and feel love. So it goes against our ego that thinks, I have to figure this out. I have to think about this. You go beyond your thinking into the now. The feeling of the now is the easiest way to ground ourselves in presence. And then, no matter what your situation, even if you're in a war zone, no matter what your situation, you can find that feeling that connects us to other people and to life, and we start feeling love and compassion without even trying. You just are able to be kind and bring that kindness to other people. And wisdom will guide you on how to do that. And there's no rule book, no recipes. So Sid says one of the greatest things you can ever learn is that there's only one psychological problem is getting caught up in thought, thinking it's true, and continuing to think about it. Realizing that is a gift. I keep seeing that deeper and deeper, even though it's been 37 years since I came across Sid Banks. The more you see it, the more resilient you become, the more hopeful you become. The less you judge other people because you can see innocently how they're getting caught up in thought and suffering, and they don't even know it. And then Sid says there's an even greater secret that every one of us can rest in the present moment and take our awareness off of what's already been created and experience the life energy that's within. It's right here, always. It's always with you. As long as you're alive, you can experience life energy within. Be aware of it, feel it, rest in it, and it will awaken your well-being, and it will guide you exactly where you need to go. That's the beauty of these principles. They're relevant for every single human being, no matter what age. I've taught this to 4-year-old kids and to 96-year-old people. And it's never a disadvantage to become more aware of how holding thought is creating suffering. There's never a downside to learning that. There's never a downside to learning that you're connected to the universal intelligence and consciousness and creative potential of life itself. That's our true self, our essence. No downside ever for anybody, any age. And there's always more we can see by insight. That's why after all these years, Natasha and I just can't get enough of this. We can't stop listening and learning and having more insight that helps us deepen our understanding of those two things. It's all thought, and we're connected to life energy that's intelligent, conscious, and creative. Well, I'd love to hear from you, from anyone, what you're hearing or questions, what you're feeling.
Blown away. Yeah.
Hmm. I haven't told that story about my son in a long time.
Dicken, I've never heard that story about Ben before, ever, and I've known
Yeah,
him 11
yeah, yeah.
years.
That's wisdom. See, it brought that particular story to my mind. I didn't think about that beforehand. It hadn't occurred to me until while I was talking to you, it popped in. That's the power of wisdom. It'll bring you what you need, no matter what you're doing or what your situation is. We just have to be open and receptive, and wisdom will come through us. But that was my wife and I beginning to understand the power of a quiet mind. Was in the hospital room with our son. My wife at one point turned to me and she said, "Dicken, what are you doing?" We were both sitting there quiet for a long time. She says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, when I'm really present, it feels like I'm standing on a top of a wall and it's solid. And if I start thinking about the past, what happened to Ben, and if I think about him being hit by a car going as fast, it broke his hip, internal damage, internal bleeding, concussion. If I think about that, it was like falling off the wall into the black abyss. If I think about, if I go into memory or imagination about the past, if I think about the future, I was thinking my son is going to be crippled for life. He's going to be connected to machines his whole life, or he's going to be brain dead. It was like falling off the wall the other way. But when I'm just present in this feeling right now and relaxing into it, it's totally grounded, safe. And I felt like then I could bring love to my son, which I knew that's what he, intuitively, I knew he needed love, not fear, not anger, not upset. After 3 days, I went home to take a shower, changed my clothes. I get a phone call while I'm home, and it was the young college boy that had hit my son. And he said, "I've been calling the hospital to try and find out how he is, but they wouldn't tell me." And he was crying. And he said, "And no one will tell me how he's doing because I'm not a relative." I talked to him for half an hour. And the last thing I wanted to do is to get into my head around blame and anger and upset with this kid. And he left the call thanking me enormously and couldn't believe that I could be that compassionate toward him too, and what he must have been going through. I get a call right after that. Isn't this interesting? I'm home. Right after talking with him, I get a call from his insurance company, and they wanted to know how much I would be willing to settle for, because they were sure I was going to sue him. I never did. It was the last thing on our mind. We didn't want to be thinking about any of that. We just wanted to bring love to our son. That's all we wanted to do. And we couldn't do that while we're caught up in our own negative thinking. I couldn't do that. It's when I started to see that no matter what circumstance you're in the quiet moment of the now, you can always access love. No exceptions. Hmm. Okay. Well, who knew that it was going to go here? Um, Thoughts, questions, comments?
Thank you for sharing the beautiful story about your son. And thank you for bringing that spirit in this room. Is amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Don't have any question. Thank you.
Well, I love that I'm not talking about myself as much as what's true for all of us. All of us think, all of us beneath our thinking have a quiet, pure, what's Sid called pure consciousness, awareness free of concepts, just present moment awareness. And all of us are connected to this deeper intelligence. And he said, he called those pure thought, pure consciousness, pure mind are three ways of talking about the life energy within us. And he said, you know what pure consciousness, pure thought is? It's love. Because when you fall out of thought, you feel closer to people and to life. That's love. Pure consciousness, you become aware without being caught up in concepts. That's what love is. And you fall into pure mind, which is being connected to wisdom, and wisdom and love become the same thing. Wisdom moves through us because we feel a connection to the other person and compassion for them and love for them. Like I could have compassion and love for that kid who put my son in the hospital. I couldn't have done that by trying to be that way. It was when we're in a quiet mind, all of us naturally are that way. We're loving and compassionate. It changed my parenting because I realized when I'm caught up in my thinking, I don't want to have important conversations with my kids or my wife. And I would step away and let go of everything, until I could be aware of that deeper feeling of aliveness, of well-being, the being within the well of ourself. Well-being, the feeling of aliveness is a positive force because it's the feeling that connects us to life in a positive way. It's not positive thinking, it's the feeling of aliveness before positive and negative thinking, which are byproducts of the intellect. It's before the intellect. So Sid called that our soul or our being or our self, true self. Some people call it spirit, some people call it God. God's everywhere and is within as well as without, and it's easier to connect with it within because you can feel it. They're just words, they're just metaphors, but the experience is not in the world of words. Anyone else?
We're passing Kleenexes around, just saying.
I know, it is touching. When we go from our head into our heart, we come alive, we get tender-hearted. That's our nature.
There's someone who has a question, Camilla?
Yes. Oh, hi.
Hi. I also want to say thank you for sharing that story. And I actually thought, okay, all my feelings are telling me my state of like where I'm right now. What have I been thinking? That's telling me my feelings, right? It's coming from my feelings. But right now I just feel touched by your story. And I don't think anything. So
Yes.
coming spirit or like you just said, because I get curious because what's coming first, sometimes it's hard for me to understand that. And right now I just feel touched, but I haven't thought anything actually.
Yes, I know. Well, sometimes I think of it as like we all have moods, right? And those are based on whether we're having positive or negative thoughts. They're thoughts that are coming through our intellect. and they go up and down. But when we go beyond our positive and negative thinking, there's the feeling of life itself. It's the most primary feeling out of which all of our positive and negative feelings come. But the paradox is that the feeling of being itself is experienced as a positive feeling by people. It's not created by concepts. It's pure feeling. It's, say you have a water hose, like a garden hose, and you're watering the garden. The water is flowing through the physical form. We're a physical form, and energy can flow through us or it can get blocked. When we hold thought, it's like bending the hose, and then the water pressure builds up because it can't flow. And so when we feel this, when we become present, we let go of holding, and the water flows. The life energy flows through us. And when energy flows, it feels good. When energy is held and contracted, it doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. So some people say we only have two feelings, fear and love. We're holding, or we're surrendered, open, alive, full of life energy, uplifting life energy. Sid says there's no word in any language for that feeling because it's before it gets labeled by the intellect. That's what you're looking for.
What I really like for the lesson today also is the free will, that I have my free will to where do I put my thoughts. I can just decide. I put them there, where I can get rid of them instead of going with the sword where I caught up in my sword. The free will is so, my soul is dancing.
Natasha, help me out. I couldn't hear that. It's too far away, and
She's
I
saying
couldn't.
that she's loving the free will part, that she can put her attention to the thought that's holding or to the surrender, so she can use her free will to choose that.
Yeah.
And she said that's very hopeful. Or
Yeah, my soul is dancing.
her soul is dancing.
Oh. Sid sometimes would say, when you fall out of your thought and you're in that feeling, you are being nourished by your soul. Sometimes I call that space within us our drop-in center. And it's open 24/7. It's like a community center, the common unity center. Being centered, we drop into this feeling center, and or some people call it the heart. So this community center is open 24/7. There's no bouncer at the door. There's no admission fee. And when you drop into this center and are in this center, you dance and sing and come alive and feel love. You are given nourishments in this center that are free. It's unconditional. And it's within everyone. That's the secret, is we've been looking for our happiness outside of ourselves our whole lives, and to discover it's always been here within us. And all we have to do is drop in. It's all we have to do.